In all-out rugby today, the Pumas are crowned Absa Currie Cup First Division champions. We take a look at the semi-finals of the Absa Currie Cup Premier Division. And Richard Fairher joins us in studio as he prepares for the Hero Run. All this action and more in all-out rugby today, but first, it's the good, the bad and the not so ugly. The good goes to the Cheetahs and the Bulls for making it through to the Absa Currie Cup Premier Division final. While the bad goes to the Sharks and Western Province for falling out of the competition. So close yet so far. And the not so ugly goes to... Live in studios, your host Arnold Geertz with special guests Kobus Visser and Ray Mort.
We take your telephone calls and we also talk about National Rugby Fan Day. But whatever the case may be and wherever you are throughout Supersport land, hello and welcome. In studio, men who have played in almost 10 semi-finals or matches which resemble semi-finals in their time, Kobus Visser and Ray Mort. Kobus, what a tough weekend and the boot in the end, the decider.
Well, true reflection of the Currie Cup, Arnie. It's been down to the wire. It's been on the knife's edge the whole time. And these two games of past weekends were just brilliant. Sharks, I think they'll kick themselves looking back at this end, top of the log, the crucial game they lose. Now it's history from there. Wait till next year. Well done to the Cheetahs. Tough one for the Bulls, but they just made it through. And the province, so close, yet so far.
You know, you used the phrase kick themselves. With all the kicking that went on, I'm not surprised. Ray, did it go against what you thought it would? Because I must just say, we must tell our viewers, if you think back of last week, Kobus predicted it. So well done to the rugby prophet yet again. Yeah, but did it work out the way that you thought
Kobus, Arnold, I really thought the Sharks would have pulled this one off. You know, being at home, they're a tough cookie. But it's quite interesting. If you read through the lines, John Plumtree mentioned it. This is our final. Don't think about the next game, think about this. And he was concerned. He said that one of the bogey teams is Cheetahs. But take nothing away. The Cheetahs were outstanding. They really came there. They played the better rugby and they deserved the victory. So good luck to them. And of course, they'll take a bow. Mornay Steyn, I mean, that penalty, that kick at the end was very important for the Bulls because they were on the back foot.
And what it comes down to, Kobus, is it's going to be a phenomenal final, whatever the case may be.
It's going to be huge because both sides showed they got BMT. You know, the Cheetahs came, as Ray said, from nowhere, through the back door, used their chances. You know, you open your eyes, they're in the final. Well done to them. It's going to be a massive game in 2 weeks' time.
Now, last week, you'll remember, we asked you which one of the 4 teams do you think will eventually get to the Absa Currie Cup 2009. The Sharks got 30%, Western Province 18%, the Blue Bulls 41%. And the Free State supporters didn't believe 12%. That was then the result. So what we want to know from you today as far as the SMS opinion poll is concerned is who will win the 09 Absa Currie Cup. Again, we can narrow it down to 2 now. You've got a 50% chance. The Blue Bulls, and that's SMS A, or if you believe it is the Free State Cheetahs, SMS B to 33672, and SMSs cost R1.50. Let's also alert you to the fact that we will take your telephone calls live on air here in our studios in Randburg. The number is 089 110 3565. It's good to have your calls, because then we know exactly how you feel out there as well. Now on Tuesday, believe it or not, it's 2 years since we won the Rugby World Cup in 2007 in France. And that's an opportunity for you to celebrate National Rugby Fan Day. 2 years after winning Rugby World Cup, it's an opportunity to own and relive one moment in time forever. The Spirit of Champion Signature Series, it's authentic, priceless, and forever. You can bet live for these items. Watch Supersport on the 20th of October for more details. And also remember to wear your Springbok jerseys on Tuesday to celebrate National Rugby Fan Day. When you come back on the other side of this, it will be all-out rugby that takes a look at the Pumas up against Southwestern Districts in the First Division final of the Absa Currie Cup.
The Pumas were crowned ABSA Currie Cup First Division champions after they thrashed the SWD Eagles 47-19 in the final played in Witbank on Friday. The Eagles went ahead after Ricardo Coy slotted in 2 penalties, and the Pumas replied with 1 from Bram Pretorius. They soon had their first try of the night, and it was captain Hannes Franklin leading from the front with a try which Pretorius converted. The Pumas led 10-6. A minute later and the deficit was back down to 1 point as the Eagles got in a penalty, but that would be it from them for the remainder of the half as the Pumas ran in 11 unanswered points. Franklin got his second try of the match, Pretorius slotted in a penalty, and Valentine van Beek put in a superb drop goal. The Pumas went straight to work after the restart. Ace redeemed himself with a try and then set up Alistair Kettledust for the try of the night.
It's gone backwards. Still in control here, the Pumas. And searching for try number 4. Kettledust gets it.
With 8 minutes left on the clock, the victory was sealed when Kettledust got his second try of the match.
It's a good one. It's worked out. Finds Van Beek finds Kettledust. Alistair Kettledust is going to go over for his second try.
The Eagles scored a late consolation try from Norman Nelson, but it was too little, too late.
Nelson on the outside, Bobby Jabir finds Norman Nelson. Norman Nelson! Try.
No doubt the Pumas would be celebrating through the night, but it will be back to the drawing board on Monday as they face 2 very tough encounters. They'll take on Boland in the first of 2 promotion relegation matches for the honours of competing in the Premier Division.
2 points from Bram Pretorius, and there goes a hooter. The Pumas are the champions of the 2009 ABSA Currie Cup First Division. The Pumas, well deserved at home, unbeaten at home so far this season. The Pumas.
I think in the first half they scored 2 tries on our mistakes, and we played against the wind in the first half. We didn't play accordingly. They used the wind like they wanted to, and like I said, we made 2 mistakes. They scored 2 tries, and it was uphill from there.
Yes, it was unbelievable. The first half we played well rugby. We played according to the weather. Second half we knew they were gone and out with the big packer forward. We started running the ball. Yeah, and it was unbelievable to see the guys play tonight. It was brilliant.
Well, they will still be celebrating in that part of the world today, I'm sure. Kobus, the nice thing is it does mean that the Pumas are the champions, but that's only really the beginning of the battle because relegation is still ahead.
It is. I think we must lift their hats, our hats to them. They lost only the 1 game only. They played the most consistent, good rugby. Jimmy Stonehouse and his crew there has done really well. These guys have played entertaining rugby. They deserve to win, but as you said, now they've got an even bigger thing waiting for them, a possible step up into the Currie Cup, into the ABSA Currie Cup. So they've got to play, I think, a home and away against the bottom half team of the section, and that's something new for them waiting, something exciting.
The big question, obviously, and they'll be asking themselves that over the next few weeks as well, is, Ray, when they get there, can they firstly win the promotion, and secondly, do they belong? Can they make themselves belong?
On Friday night's performance, this game, I watched it. I know it's a league below the Currie Cup, but this was played at a tempo and pace. And, in the end, the Eagles just couldn't handle the physical side of the game. And, of course, they dominated all areas of the game. That was the Pumas. Can they handle coming up another step? I have no doubt. I think this Puma side might be a little bit too strong for the Boland side. But it's going to be a great encounter. So let's see what Chester can do. Boland is always, they've always got something in the back.
And you'll see it live and exclusive only here on SuperSport. That's, of course, on the 30th, but we'll give you more details about that a little later on in the show. Now let's make our way down to Durban. For those of you who happen to have missed it, the ABSA Currie Cup semi-final 1. It's the Sharks who hosted the Vodacom Cheetahs.
The Vodacom Free State Cheetahs put on a spirited fight back to cause the upset of the season, beating the Sharks 23-21 in their ABSA Currie Cup semi-final played in Durban on Saturday afternoon. The Sharks only have themselves to blame for throwing the match away. They had a 12-point lead going into half-time. The Cheetahs took the early lead after Jacques-Louis Potgieter got his first 3 of 18 points for the match.
Such a vital kick so early in the game, and he's spot on the mark.
Moments later, the Cheetahs would be unlucky to have 8th man Ashley Johnson stopped just short of the line. The Sharks got the first try of the match, Adwan Dungani with a great chip forward for his skipper Stefan Blanche to capitalise. Ron Pienaar missed the conversion. The Sharks led 5-3. Potgieter then missed 2 vital penalties for the Cheetahs before Pienaar put the Sharks 8-3 up with his first successful kick of the game.
It's Kankowski. Still advantage surely to the Sharks. Now they'll go. Was Marius Jonker's ball.
The Sharks then got their second and final try of the match on the stroke of half-time. Some great teamwork from JP Peterson and Jacques Boertes, who sent Pienaar over in a spectacular finish. Pienaar converted and the Sharks were 15-3 to the good going into the break. And things were looking good after the restart when Juan Martin Hernandez struck a drop goal to extend that lead by 3.
The Cheetahs in trouble.
But the Cheetahs seemed the more determined side and started their fight back after Potgieter had added another 3 points to the scoreboard.
But they'll go back for the penalty. Potgieter sends the warning signals to the Sharks that they cannot relax.
WP Nel got the Cheetahs' first try in the 52nd minute before Potgieter was on hand for a great intercept for his side's second. That put the Cheetahs ahead by 2.
The pressure, they get the ball here, then Duplessis says, yes, it's a try. Sykes, they're using him more and more, they have to. Hernandez, and goal, here goes Potgieter. Has he got the pace? The race is on, I think he's got the pace. He has got the pace. This game is so alive and scary.
Pienaar then put the Sharks ahead with a penalty, the score 21-20 in favour of the hosts. The Sharks faithful were on the edge of their seats as they watched the Cheetahs continue to apply the pressure. With minutes left on the clock, the home crowd held their breaths as they watched Potgieter turn into an instant hero as he secured the last gasp victory for the Cheetahs with a superb drop goal. The Cheetahs now have a mammoth task of facing the Bulls in next weekend's final.
The Absa Curry Cup of 2009. The Cheetahs sprinting back into position.
No, it's tough, but congratulations to the Cheetahs. They played particularly well, turned us over in making us. We just didn't look after that ball well enough today.
It was tough once again. For some reason we give away 1 or 2 tries in the first half and then fight back. We need to work at that. But half time I thought 15-3 wasn't the true reflection of the game, and the guys came out fighting in the second half, and I'm very proud of them.
So the Vrystaat make it through. What tickles your fancy about those particular stats there, Ray? Where do you think, if you look at the stats, it tells you that the Free State the better side?
Well, I think almost all the stats. The possession, 56%. You can see they had most of it. Turnovers were pretty even. And then, of course, you can see tackles made. The Sharks had, probably 25% more tackles made. But it's what they did with that possession, out there. Missed tackles, you can see the Sharks had 18. So the Cheetahs really put a lot of pressure on them. And on the day, they played the better brand of rugby.
And Kobus, that's not quite reflected there, but it also tells you with the tackles made there that the Sharks were under pressure, and that's why so many penalties came at the same time.
Absolutely, but also, I think they were a bit under pressure in the scrums as well, especially on the loose head side. With Leon Dupree, I thought scrummed exceptionally well. And they did that in the previous game as well, and that sort of laid a foundation for them, kept them in the game. But the way they fought back on at a crucial stage of the game showed that they've got a lot of heart, and it makes them dangerous. And we said from day one they're going to be dangerous. Nothing to lose, no pressure, and they're using the opportunities. And again, they're in the final. That's all they need to know, and we'll tell to the opponents.
I'm taken back to 2005 at the final at Loftus, when the Free State were in very much the same sort of scenario as what they were yesterday. And so help me, they did at that time. They really play themselves into a hole, and then they play themselves out of a hole.
Yeah, no, look, this Cheetah side will give the Blue Bulls a very hard go. Make no mistake. Don't think this final's over. They're going to have to play this. They've come a long way. They're confident. They're not worried about playing against the Springboks. They want to actually play against them. And just as Quibber said, the 3 guys man of the match was Willem Dupree, Richard Strauss, and VP Nel, because they destroyed our Springbok front row. And I was just surprised John Plumtree never brought Yanni du Plessis on. You know, he could have brought it on. He could have steadied the ship there with his brother Bismarck, and unfortunately, it wasn't to be. They were totally outplayed on the day and destroyed in the front row. That's where it started and ended. You know. Also, Arnie, they're no strangers to semi-finals. Since 2000 to now, for the last 9 years, they've been in every single semi-final, so they know what to expect.
The amazing thing is that you look at it now, perhaps in retrospect, and you think it's such an overused term, but did they underestimate the Cheetahs?
I think John Plumtree is a professional coach. I think his whole team is professional players. They had a great season. I wouldn't say they really underestimated them. I just think maybe, you know, in the back of their mind, at home, they've already have booked a home final if they go through. Maybe a bit of, if I look at the crowd, you know, it's a disappointing crowd in Durban. Normally they support rugby very well. There was at least 20,000 empty seats. Maybe they expected, well, it's sort of just a step to the final. You know, I got that kind of feeling. So after the final whistle went, Arnie, there was absolute silence, you know, in that, they were stunned. They were shocked.
So nothing is a done deal. I guess that's what really comes through. Huh?
Not in the Currie Cup.
And that's exactly how it ended up at Newlands as well. You knew that it would be a humdinger, but quite like this, well, no one could have predicted that.
Mornay Steyn continued his dream season as he kicked the Vodacom Blue Bulls into a home final as they beat Vodacom Western Province 21-19 in their Absa Currie Cup semi-final played in Cape Town on Saturday. The Bulls didn't get the match off to an ideal start. They were down to 14 men in the opening minute when Bakkie Squirter was sent to the sin bin. Despite this, the visitors still managed to open a 12-point lead with 4 penalties from the golden boot of Steyn. Province will rue their chances, and it wasn't a good day for Peter Grant, Devil Duvenaga and Joe Peterson, whose positional kicking left much to be desired. That cost Province.
Vanny Stradham is pleased, so is the rest of the Blue Bulls bench.
The hosts finally got on the board in the 29th minute through a penalty from Peterson, and then he doubled their tally with another penalty just before the break.
Time for the Blue Bulls. Peterson has got Western Province onto the board.
It was the home side who benefited most from the break as they came out fighting. Peterson closed the gap back down to 3 points with another penalty.
The crowd will tell you. Absolutely pure strike from Joe Peterson.
But the Bulls were back up by 6 after Steyn got his 5th penalty of the match.
So Gutro Steenkamp called into action.
Right now, leave it!
Hands in again. He was never going to make an error with that one. You think of...
The only try of the match eventually came in the 58th minute from Province winger Gio Aplon. With Peterson's conversion, Province were in the lead for the first time, 16-15. The teams then exchanged the lead as Steyn slotted one home for the Bulls, followed by Peterson a short while later.
But once again, the strike is immaculate. The tackle of Guthrie Steenkamp, who was quickly up. Now Peterson, Joe Peterson, picked up in the tackle by Steyn. And in from the side went Derek Keane. No problem from the Western Province fullback.
The Province supporters were then kept on the edge of their seats as they watched their side fight to maintain their 19-18 lead. Time looked to be running out for the Bulls, but they were gifted the victory when moments from the end, Province cracked under the pressure. Steyn kept his cool, getting the monstrous match-winning penalty, and the Bulls will now host the Cheetahs in the final.
The Absa Currie Cup final and a win by 21 points to 19 at Newlands.
Yeah, Matt, definitely, you know, but that's how you grow as a person, as a team. I'm very proud of the team. I think it's been a fantastic season. There's something happening in, you know, at Western Province. You know, I just think over-eagerness at the beginning of the match, you know, especially in a playoff like this where we conceded a whole lot of penalties. We, you know, when they were 14 men buckies off, and then they got 6 points on the board, and it should have gone our way. But it shows, you know, that that was really vital. The Blue Bulls are a good side, quality side. They've been there, they've done it, you know.
You know, if you look at the crowd, it was, let me put it this way, I wasn't surprised. You know, they were solid. The second half, they stopped us to go forward. That's actually where they almost slow poison was almost kicking in there. Our guys just was hanging in there, you know, and just keep chipping away on that defense wall. And like I said, it took a penalty, a long distance penalty kick to win it today.
Super staying 7 is what the headline said, but Kobus, Alistair could see and his team will look back at this and wonder just where did it all go wrong.
I think unforced errors, you know, cost them in the end. Ball possession, Bulls had more. They did defend very well. I think they defended very well the whole season, Province. You've got to give them credit. They played with a lot of passion, a lot of guts. They would look back at this one, Arnie, and say, you know, we had the chances, but we didn't take it. We're one step away from the final, and they'll be unhappy, and rightfully so, Western Province.
That's a very interesting stat from you, Ray. Visits to the opponents 22 and the points scored from those very visits. And that's just remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's really remarkable. But, you know, as we say, you know, I think if you look at the Bulls, they probably controlled the first 25 minutes with the experience and confidence. And then, of course, the young Western Province pack, who've really come along with their tight five in particular, they took the Bulls by the horn and they really threw that game at them, and they probably had the better of the last 55 minutes of the game. And then, of course, you know, the one area where it really concerned me was, you know, I don't know why coaches make changes for 10 minutes to go in a player, and of course I know Alistair Coetzee made the change, but taking here Aplo off, who was playing tremendous rugby at the time, and putting on Nakaravuki, who had he had a high tackle, unfortunate for him, but that was the difference in the game, you know. But besides that, it was a brilliant bit of rugby, and congratulations to Western Province, because they've had a brilliant season, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the years to come.
I would, though, assume, Kobus, that the players who ran out in the blue and white hoops yesterday will wake up today and tomorrow and think, we had it. It was in the palm of our hands.
Arnie, that's what semi-finals and finals is about. It's on the day. You get one chance and one chance only. Otherwise, you have to wait for another year, or it might never come your way again. So they will definitely feel sorry for themselves. I think they had the chance. They had a great season as well. And they were so close, Western Province. But give the Bulls credit, guys. They showed a lot of character. They showed that why they're such a good team, why they have BMT. And again, yet another final for them. They know semi-finals like the Cheetahs. They know how to react under pressure. They didn't panic and staying. I mean, what a performance this year. How cool and calm is he under pressure, and he slots them when it really matters.
Well, here's just a look back at last year's ABSA Currie Cup final, and let's be honest, it is not easy to travel to Pretoria, and we know what happened in the Super 14 final. If the Bulls hit their straps, you would imagine that there aren't all that many international teams that can hold them.
I agree with you. Arnold. However, the thing is, the Bulls are struggling in the front row as well. Make no mistake. And this young Cheetahs front row, they'll target a certain area there, and the Bulls are going to have to, you know, really get that going. But as we've seen, if the Bulls get their tight fight going and they allow Stegman and Potgieter to roam and do the fetching, their backline can really operate, because you've got the two best halfbacks in the world at the moment, you know, in Fourie Dupree and, Mornay Steyn, and you've got, you know, there's everything in that Bulls team to say that they shouldn't lose, but you know how the Cheetahs are. They're tough.
They are indeed. Let's take our first calls, and I really wanted to ask our viewers with great kindness in our hearts to speak English, because obviously this program is broadcast in Australia and also in New Zealand. Our first caller is from Orkney. Claude, good afternoon. You're live on All Out Rugby.
Hello, John. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to talk on the TV. Listen, I'm very upset about the Sharks. I just feel that Plumtree, the last 20 minutes, he should have made changes. He should have put Dermont on fly-off, and Cockett should have been, and Craig Burden, and the other blokes. You know, I don't know, the Sharks were playing, for me, better rugby before the Springboks came. They worked harder, and they played like a team. But now, there was no... I don't know, the movement and everything was not right up to the, up to the tempo, you know. They weren't playing well from the start, since the Springboks arrived.
Claude, thank you very much, and I can tell you that while you were talking, Ray Mort was sitting and nodding his head, agreeing with absolutely every point you made.
No, I just think, what Claude has a good point, and I think it's what we were talking off screen just now, Arnold Kobus, is that the Sharks were down there in the 22 and they had possession, and they went for drop kick after drop kick, where usually they'd have the confidence and the composure to build. build phases, and slowly they would break down that defense. That's what they're good at. And they usually get, in that area, they'd either turn it into a penalty or they'd get a try. And they started to panic. I could see there, and they've got a lot of experience in that team, and I think nobody actually spoke up with the experience they have there. They just seemed to panic at the wrong time yesterday.
Our next caller is from Andre in Rustenburg. And Andre, let's hear what you have to say. We're listening.
Hello, Kobus, Arnold. I just want to say well done to Cheetahs and Blue Bulls. I have knew they can pull it through. And I just think that yellow card from Bakkies Botha, that was unnecessary. And I just want to know why he's getting, every match, he's getting a yellow card.
Thanks, Andre. We do appreciate that.
I think the Bulls will pull it through.
Thank you. You want to answer that one as a fiery lock yourself in your day, Chris?
No, any lock is always a good poker player, so they like cards. No, one thing, and Alistair could see mentioned as well, Arnie, is that the fact that in that 10 minutes when they had 40 men on the field, Province should have put points on the board, but instead Bulls put 6 points, and again they kept their composure. So they kept their cool. They didn't panic.
You were known as an enforcer in your day in the team, and every team does need someone like that. That is what makes Bakkies Botha Bakkies Botha. Let's face it, you would never have liked to have played against the guy if you could help it.
But without doubt, in a tight five, he's the fire in the engine. He's the guy that gets things going, and every team needs a tight five like that. There's no doubt. And I'd rather play with him in my team any day than with the others.
No doubt about that. Vickers is on the line from Vereniging. Vickers, go ahead.
Kan jy my hoor?
Ons kan jou duidelik hoor. Please try and keep it English for us, Vickers.
Dit is because Louis sou rede vier, maar Kobus ry. Ek is 'n baie trotse WP ondersteuner. Ek weet Kobus Jesus sal sê ja, as 'n ou se span verloor, dan blameer jy die skeieregter daarvoor. Maar ek het dit vandag deurgegaan met 'n vriend. As omtrent 6 geleenthede wat Mark Lawrence die balle kon gestraf het. Maar ou vat dit, dinge gaan nie altyd ou se kant toe nie. En ek wil net sê die blou balle met al hulle springbokke was baie gelukkig om die wedstryd te wen en voorspoed vir die Sharks in die finaal. Kobus, dan kan jy jou belasting betaal as jy dink soos jy laas het gesê het.
Vickers, thanks so much. We appreciate that. For our viewers overseas, Vickers was saying that there may have been 1 or 2 penalties that should have gone the other way, and that he's a very big Province supporter on top of that.
I think Vickers is still mourning because he thinks the Sharks are still going through to the final, but it's not so.
Well, let's talk about the referees. The 2 referees, obviously, Ray, over the weekend, have a very tough job. What were your thoughts about their standards?
Look, I think overall it wasn't too bad. One can sit down and be critical and scrutinise everything. There are probably 1 or 2 calls that didn't go both ways. But at times when there's at the point in the game when it's a critical time of the game, like the last few minutes, what happens is the refs are put on the spot. And I don't know if there should be somebody else having a look at it to see that the call is right. And in particular in the scrums and the breakdown area. The scrums. That one time I know John Plumtree mentioned that possibly he was concerned about the way the ref, ref the scrums at the scrums and the breakdown. Possibly the guys who were walking around, but. Those are things you've got to have a look at, and I think overall we can't blame the refs on this. The teams had their opportunities, and the 2 home teams lost.
Aniki calls from Parow, and I know that she's a regular contributor on Super Rugby. Aniki, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Good afternoon. I just want to say that I spoke to Naz and Daryl Scott about 2 weeks ago, and I told them that VP must just remember they won't win the Currie Cup with overseas players. And that was happening on Saturday. And I'm so glad they learned their lessons now. And I hope, because there's such a lot of good players in South Africa, and that also happened to the Sharks. I said, well done, Free State, well done, Blue Bulls. And on the 31st of October, it's going to be 18-21 Blue Bulls. And thank you very much for the program, and I really appreciate that. Bye.
And you heard it first here on All Out Rugby. Kobus.
We can't add anything to that.
Right? No, I think Aniki has a good point there. But, the way it is now, the game is professional. And sometimes I do realise there's players that are playing here. But if you look what's happening overseas, how many of the players have taken of ours and how many play in their leagues there. Sometimes it's quite nice, Kobus, to have some of these internationals coming over here and we learn from them and they play with our players and that. So, it's a bit of a mixture. But at the moment... the value of Iran to the value of what's happening over there, we won't get too many, so Aniki doesn't have to worry.
I think we're just too emotional about it because it's rugby, you know. If you look at the soccer team, professional soccer teams, if there's any local boy in the team, you know, he'll be the odd one out because the rest are all from overseas, from all over there. But that's a professional game. I mean, there's no more than two players on any time on the field from overseas, and I agree with Raymond. I think it's good for the youngsters to get these international guys playing with them.
And let's face it, if Chris Jack was in that team, it may have been a different story as well. So you can argue that as well at the same time. Let's talk to Karoo, who's called us from Cape Town. Good day, go ahead. Karoo, we
good
listening?
afternoon, gentlemen.
Yes.
I fully agree with Ray Moore about making a change in the last few minutes. It was totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. Had Province won that game, I bet Gio Appelman would probably have won the man of the match. So it's totally unnecessary for you to make that change. And as for the Transvaal, the Free State game, I'm telling you that definitely Northern Transvaal is going to have their hands full. Apparently, Oz is doing a great job with his forwards of the Free State, and yeah, they're going to have their hands full in the final.
Karoo, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your call. Question to both of you. Do coaches sometimes make a change just for change's sake, do you think?
Well, you know, we wouldn't know. You know, we don't know what the coaches are thinking out there. But, you know, with 5 and 10 minutes to go, I mean, to change a wing who was playing well. I mean, Gio Appler is a small guy. His defence was outstanding. He scored the most brilliant try. His work rate was phenomenal. He's taking high up and under. Why change this kid? I mean, I just don't understand it. All right, it's easier said than done, but it's done and dusted now. And sure, the poor Nakalavuki, he's the one who, you know, he made the high tackle and lost the game, and he must feel terrible. But in the end, yeah, I think the coaches make too many changes. But one thing that Karoo said was very nice there. Os Durant is making a huge impression with that front row. Because can you imagine having an icon like Os and these youngsters that are 21, 22, and as we were saying to Quivers, when he tells those guys to scrum and he tells them he's watching them every scrum, I think they must be pretty worried that if they don't.
Quivers, we've seen more often than not players go on with 10 minutes, 8 minutes to go, and it takes them a good 8 odd minutes to get used to the pressure and the heat out on the field.
Oh no, I could never understand why a player goes onto the field for 5 minutes to go to change what? I mean, it's impossible. To try and get into the game takes 5 or 10 minutes, as you said. And even if a player is on form, why take him off anyway? He's on form, he's got confidence, he's playing well. Leave the guy on the field. So, yeah, you've got a great point there.
SJ has called us from Johannesburg. SJ, you're live on All Out Rugby.
Hello,
SJ, you there?
can you hear me?
We're listening, yes?
Just an observation. I'm actually a Free State supporter, and I think it's just wonderful that they won. I never gave them a chance. But anyway, first credit to them. Just an observation that the front row of the Free State, how they brought down that Springbok front row down to the knees. It doesn't make sense, but I think Peter de Villiers has got a major problem. I'll watch on TV. Thank you.
Thank you. Kobus.
Yeah, you know, we mentioned it. We said in the build-up before the game that could be a turning point in the game, and I think it contributed hugely to it. The previous game they played in the Absa Stadium, they were also in the upper hand, especially the second half, and then Plumtree had to make some changes, you know, to sort of stem the tide. Again, we saw these guys, especially beyond the Prius, scrumming really, really well against John Smith, and they turned the scrum around and put a lot of pressure on them. You must understand, when the tight five is sort of in the back foot, it's a rippling effect to the negative to the back, so the 8-man can't control the ball, he gets under pressure. So does the scrum off and the fly off, and it did contribute, make no mistake. And you're right, Raymond says that the Western Province front row scrummed exceptionally well against the Bulls. So Frans Rudiger's got some homework to do. I don't know if he's going to make some changes, but these oaks, their tails are up, those Cheetahs. They're going with confidence, even to the Bulls. The Bull ring was going to be jam-packed. They're going to go there again as the underdogs, and the pressure will be on the Bulls.
The final of the 2009 Absa Ari Cup campaign comes your way live from 4 o'clock. That's in 2 Saturdays' time from yesterday. And it's on SuperSport 1, SuperSport on Mnet, and you can also look at it in high definition. And it will be a clash that will be superb. Who will win the 2009 Absa Currie Cup? And there we go. It is close. See, the Free State supporters have finally come to the party. They've now been able to see exactly what's been going on.
No, but SJ's he's now voted for his team. He's got confidence back now.
Okay, he's voted several times, I would imagine. It's very, very short out there. And you can still make a difference. If you believe the Bulls will win, SMS A. If you believe the Cheetahs will win, SMS B to 33672. SMSs cost R1.50. All Out Rugby will continue on the other side of this. This is All Out Rugby, and we've been joined by Richard Fair, who is on his way to go and compete, and we know he's going to the Hero Run. That is to raise money and awareness for the Chris Berger Petro Jackson Players Fund. Richard, yes, this is one heck of a trip. You're going to go and run 160 Ks now in 7 days. That is already daunting. But
5 days.
On 5 days. In the underneath the 4 highest peaks in the world. This sounds like madness.
I wish it was 7 days. Yeah, it's not madness, but it's, see, I can do it. And the reason I'm doing it is I'm an average guy, and I'm an ex-rugby guy, and I have an understanding of what some guys in rugby can't do. So I think by running it and by getting some exposure, people can open their hearts and their purses to putting some money towards a good cause.
Now, you work with some of the players that have had spinal injuries and that cannot walk themselves, and this is obviously a tribute to them at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, to have played rugby myself and to have mates have played rugby, and then to be a physiotherapist working with guys who cannot run again, cannot catch a ball again, cannot go to the toilet again. This will highlight the importance of safety in rugby and then assisting guys who can't anymore. You know.
How have you gone about your training? Talk us through that.
It's been aside from a couple of good loggers.
The carbo loading doesn't count, okay?
I've been running half marathon nearly every day for the last 6 months. So I run about 120 kilometers a week. And then we've been going up to the Drakensberg and to Lesotho nearly every weekend for the last month to do some altitude training, because it's quite high in around Everest, so I think there is going to be...
Quite high is an understatement.
I was about to say, you know, that must be a killer, the oxygen, lack of oxygen up there.
I think it's going to be tough. I did a small run I've just actually driven back from Lesotho now, but last weekend I was running in at the top of Champagne Castle, and after running 6 Ks it felt like I'd run 20. So it's going to be a challenge. I think Arnie was saying to me that it's going to feel like the equivalent of 160 kilometers I'm running is going to feel like 300 kilometers.
Yeah, without doubt they say that running at that altitude is obviously very tough. Luckily though, because you in Johannesburg a lot of the time, your adjustment should happen slightly faster than, let's say, an athlete who's only been training at sea level.
Yeah, I like the way you use the word athlete. Thanks, Arnie.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it should be a little bit easier for me. I have some of my friends who are doctors have given me a drug called Diamox, which helps with altitude sickness, and I might take that depending on how my acclimatization goes on the first 3 days.
I also know that you are very involved with the Chris Berger Petro Jackson Players Fund. Just give us a little idea for those folks who are uninitiated in exactly what the fund does.
What the fund does, I mean, it's a great fund, and it was started about almost 30 years ago. And it's what it does is it highlights the importance of rugby injuries. And I don't know where I read it recently, but in the old days, I think you could say that rugby was dangerous and sex was safe. And now sex is dangerous and rugby is safe.
Frick de Pre always says that, yeah.
But even though it's getting safer, I think the guys are getting stronger and faster and more aggressive at a younger age, and they're playing for longer. Yeah. And I think what we've got to do is just highlight the fact that there are things that we can do to strengthen ourselves in the beautiful game and still play a good game of rugby, but not get injured. And then over and above showing people that it is a grave concern, what the fund does is it assists families for guys who died actually from neck injuries, as well as assisting them with aids like wheelchairs, etc.
Richard, obviously this is going to be tough. But is this a once-off, or would you want to answer that after the race?
Kobus, maybe after the race. But for me, I think this is... I've done several crazy things before, and this is a continuation, and we'll talk when I get back.
You must have been a hooker when you're playing. Doing crazy things.
Too many blows to the head. Richard, the amazing thing for me about this, and here I'd like to pay tribute to you, is you have no sponsors. There's no one who's paid for your trip or your race entry or your other expenses. You've done this all by yourself, so you really must believe in this cause.
I really do believe in this cause. I used to be an international rugby physio at the World Cup in '99. I was heavily involved in rugby journalism. I played rugby, and now I'm a physiotherapist that works with brain and spinal injuries. And I really do believe that if you suffer this playing rugby, you will miss out on a lot in life. And rugby, we're a big family. One thing rugby's done for me, and it's done for you guys, is we're a family across the world. And I think that by doing this, I can touch the minds and hearts of rugby players and their families throughout the world, and hopefully they can get to see what the fun's about.
Are there telephones, cell phone reception, etc. out there? Can you let us know during your day's exertion or afterwards how it's going?
I would like to. I've Vodacom as a sponsor of the fund. We approached them, and we're hoping, if I can say this, that they may donate to the Chris Berger Fund. And if they do, they may also provide me with communication that I can then talk to, just for the 5 days anyway, to a radio station or someone here that can broadcast how difficult it is and my feelings on what's going on and how stuffed I am.
Which without doubt is going to happen, I have no doubt. Let's give you an opportunity to make a difference, and you can also donate. There it is. www.playersfund.org.za, and I think if you can, 50 cents, 5 rand, whatever it may be. There's also the Players Fund office telephone number, and that's 021 659 5615. You can make a difference, whatever the donation may be. Richard, I think we really admire your fighting spirit. We're hoping that we'll admire those flashing legs as you fly up the mountains. We hope that it goes very well, and we're extremely proud of you. Give it stick out.
Thank you.
There is still, of course, our SMS opinion poll, and there's a heck of a lot more to go as far as All Out Rugby is concerned, because the SMS, well, it's become very interesting, the SMS opinion poll, because the fact of the matter is that's what it looks like at the moment. 48%, and then that must be 52% at the bottom. But now, yeah, maybe there's so many Cheetah supporters out there after the win that there's an extra, and that's out of 101% these days.
That 1% more is SJ.
Well, there you go.
His faith is back.
And a lot of Cheetah's faith is back. If you believe 09 Absa Currie Cup champions will be the Blue Bulls, SMS A. If you believe it will be the Free State Cheetahs, SMS B to 33672. That number again, 33672. The Heineken Cup second round results come your way, and we'll tell you all about all the other finals, the under-19s, the under-21s, and of course, if you happen to have missed the details so far, the final in 2 weeks' time, right here on SuperSport. In the meantime, All Out Rugby continues after this.
Sale Sharks got their first Heineken Cup win of the season with a narrow 27-26 win over the Blues on Friday. After Ben Blair and Lee Halfpenny kicked the visitors into a 9-3 lead, Sisa Kayama Bole claimed Sale's first try, followed by Dean Schofield and James Gaskell.
Here goes Sale! It's try number 2! Good scrum from Cardiff to wheel it that way.
Yeah, huge scrum from them, but here goes Gaskell! Gaskell!
Andy Powell and Robin Sarden-Taylor got late tries for the Cardiff Blues, but it wasn't good enough.
On, and Andy Powell! James Gaskell waits. Oh, it's loose! Cardiff has snuffed one!
Munster have put their Heineken Cup campaign back on track following a 41-10 thrashing of Treviso. Treviso's only point of the match came in the opening 25 minutes through unconverted tries from Brendan Williams and Andrew Falk. From there, Munster ran rampant, running in 7 tries to clinch the bonus point. 2 from Ian Dowling, 1 from South African Jean de Villiers, as well as Paul Warwick, Dennis Lurney, Dennis Fogarty and David Wallace.
Brick by brick they're loosening this Treviso wall. De Villiers inside to Quinlan. Oh, that's quite superb! Quite superb! Demonzano's trying to cut him down. O'Connell knocks it off. The referee says, play on O'Connell. Might find Williams. It finds Munster and Dowling. Dowling inside. Leamy. This is better. This is De Villiers. Welcome to Thomond Park.
Edinburgh put in a late fight back, coming from behind to beat Ulster 17-13 in their match at Murrayfield on Saturday. 2 penalties from Phil Godman gave Edinburgh the early lead before Tumachi Nagusa's try put Ulster 10-6 ahead at half-time. Edinburgh's only try came from Tim Visser, followed by 2 Godman penalties, which gave the home side the win.
The game is very much in the balance. This referee Dave Pearson here going to award a penalty here. Victory for the home side, you would think. It's 3 points. 17-13 as the clock ticks towards 80. Surely that is a home victory for Edinburgh.
And results from the weekend, some very good victories for the Gwent Dragons, a 1-pointer for the Sale Sharks and Papinor over Northampton Saints, a big one for Munster, and the Leicester Tigers, well, they put together a very solid performance, as well as Biarritz Olympique. And Saturday and Sunday's results so far, there's a match on the go at the moment, that Bath match at Stade Francais. That is what the latest score is. That's on Supersport 5 as we speak. But gentlemen, nice to see that Jean de Villiers has stepped into the role and is just carrying on exactly where he left off.
Yeah, they destroyed Treviso and obviously out-muscled them completely. Great to see Jean, you know, looking right at home there, scoring a try.
You know that type of rugby very well, Ray. It's competitive.
Very competitive. You know, their league there is as strong as anything in the world. You know, you can see it's competitive. They've got a lot of overseas players coming from all over the world. And you know, the French against the English, the Irish, it's very competitive. It's tough rugby, and it's a pleasure to play over there. And it's a true professional. It's all around you. And as you can see, they've got smaller crowds, 20 to 15,000, always packed, and the people live for it week in and week out. And very, very competitive. Tough competition.
This is on Supersport 5 as we speak at the moment. The second half is about to start there. It's Bath leading Stade Francais 21 points to 12. The only thing I'm worried about is that pink jersey. Other than that, you can't fault anything. The rugby is fine.
But don't you know real men wear pink?
I'll have to take your word for it, Cobus. Now, the Vodacom Bulls Champions Evening. It's on the 19th of October. Sorix Estate Centurion. 15,000 Rand for a table of 10 bookings on 012-420-0771 or drop Michelle a line at michelle@bluebull.coza. Live fixtures for the Guinness Premiership next weekend. 2 games coming your way live on Supersport 1 and Supersport on Mnet. Our SMS opinion poll, and it's the Bulls who lead by 4% over the Free State Cheetahs. Does that mean it's going to be very equal? We figure so. Well, it's been a very interesting weekend, and I think we're a lot closer to telling exactly what is going to happen in the Absa Currie Cup final, or not, Cobus?
I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a highly entertaining game. I think in the end, the home ground advantage, and the Bulls having that massive stock of Springboks to pick from will just give them the edge.
Right.
Yeah, I think Frans Lurik has got a big job. He's got to get the Bulls to peak. I mean, Victor Matfield is there. Brian Banner hasn't won a Currie Cup, so it's his last game for them. So it's a nice ending for him, but take nothing from the Cheetahs. I think it's going to be a fantastic final. They'll come and give it hell there.
We trust that you found this edition of All Out Rugby to your liking. If you did, please join us again next week, same time, same place. On behalf of the whole crew, it's been great to have you. Until then, take care and goodbye.